faster than a speeding bullet,
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
more powerful than a locomotive,
An idea is like a virus, resilient, highly contagious.
able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
What's up? Hey guys, welcome to the Better Humanology podcast. Jared Moon here. This week we have Setema Gali. He is the world's greatest coach for the highly committed, the Reverend of the Revolution, husband and father, mentor to entrepreneurs and executives, speaker, trainer, best-selling author, and Super Bowl champion. That's right, he played for the New England Patriots. I had an amazing time reading his book, doing this interview, and getting to know him a little bit over the course of this interview. So take out your pen, your paper, if you can. If you're driving, maybe pass on that. A lot of good information in this one, so listen to it in its entirety. Maybe listen to it twice. I really enjoyed this one, guys. I hope you do too. All right, Setema, I am super pumped to have you on the Better Humanology podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be here. I'm excited to share and to learn and to be with you guys. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I heard you speak at an event last year. Absolutely awesome, super motivational. Never did I think that we would be linking up on this podcast at that time, but luckily one of my athletes introduced us, and man, I'm glad that we're here today. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. I'm humbled. I'm honored, and really looking forward to the show today. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get started with some challenges. Everyone who listens knows we get with getting the mind going, getting the blood going. So could you give everyone listening a fitness/physical challenge for this week?
You got it. Here's the physical fitness challenge. So 100 clean and jerks from the ground with 135 pounds and 100 pull-ups. You can mix and match them any way you want to do it, but 100 clean and jerk from the ground and then 100 pull-ups, like kipping, jumping. But, if you can get that done, that's one of my favorite go-tos, and I can knock that out in under 30 minutes. 100 clean and jerk, 135 pounds, and then 100 pull-ups. Get it done.
That's awesome. I love that one. All right, how about a mental toughness challenge?
A mental toughness challenge, I would say, one of the things I share with people is what you focus on is what expands, what you focus on is what you feel, and what you focus on grows. And mine would be to every time you feel like, I'll use a football analogy, every time you feel the middle linebacker blitzing right up the A gap, coming towards you, right, whether that's feeling like a victim, getting angry, any of that kind of stuff, just audible to gratitude. Every single time, just say, hey, why should I be grateful for this thing? What's the gift? So I call this gifting gratitude. What's the gift of this circumstance that absolutely is pissing me off right now? And audible to gifting gratitude. And try that on every time your kids aren't listening. Like my son's like pissing on the wall these days. He keeps missing, and it's just like, oh, and I'm like, what is the gift? And how can I be grateful in this? So go to gifting gratitude every time you feel anger, frustration, fear, doubt, despair, victimhood. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. All right. Now, how about a book recommendation for everyone listening?
Man, without a doubt, I'm going to give a plug for my book, Winning After the Game. Winning After the Game. I love the book. I love the story. I love the principles. And I still read through the book and take quotes as we're building the marketing and we're out in the launch in Amazon. And look, it's my heart and soul in the book. Like it's an introduction to who Setema is, but more than that, just how anybody going through difficulty, challenges, frustration, how they can pick themselves up, and the processes and the principles and the strategies on how they can go and thrive again, no matter how deep they go, no matter how rock bottom they hit. So yeah, Winning After the Game, pick it up on Amazon and enjoy the book. Leave me a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
That's awesome. I actually have my copy right here. I've been dog-earing, underlining, just a whole bunch of stuff. I was telling you before the show, and happy to tell the listeners too, is just a lot of the principles in this book. I feel like sometimes books hit you where you are in life sometimes. And there's some books I've read that were years ago that were beyond where I needed to be, but I've kept them because I'm like, this will be good one day. And this one, for me, a lot of the stories and things that you've gone through, I feel like to some degree, I'm going through the same thing, learning some of the same lessons and principles. So it's been incredibly helpful, everything I've gone through so far. So let's dive into that today for sure. But let's start with maybe just a little bit of introduction, if you will, just kind of walking us through your, not your whole life, you don't have to, but just kind of what you're doing today and what you're passionate about, so people kind of know what you're doing and where you came from.
Thank you. Today I run a program for men called Man Wealth. It is a 6-week immersion program, coaching, wake up, awareness, and it's based on one thing, which is results. So men from all over the world will fly into Southern California. They will spend 4 days with us. They will go through 5 weeks of training before they come. And it is a physical, spiritual, relational, financial, like deep dive coaching. It is immersion. Like you come here one way, we gut you open, figuratively speaking, and you leave transformed with new insights, a stronger commitment, and grounded in principles. We run immersion. We have our ascension model, which is the backside of that, where we coach guys for a year long. I speak, I coach, I train. I have a podcast, I write books. And then, of course, my favorite part as a man today is I have 3 boys, and I take them to school, and they are a handful, and they're fun. And married to my best friend, the love of my life. We have an amazing life here in Southern California. So I teach men and women how to level up, how to live the life that they really want to live, how to get results, and how to get to the root of what's getting in the way. And I help them to go live these amazing lives, and then, to rise up as leaders and to go do the same thing for their organizations, their teams, their families. And in between that, I coach like little basketball and little flag football, and I'm loving life. And that's Setema.
That's awesome. And so you do very clearly, look like you do love life and enjoying what you do. You're very, you have a lot of gratitude for everything. Where did that come from? And have you always had it? This level of gratitude, you're just talking about that in the mental toughness challenge, which is, I hope everyone was paying attention to that and wrote it down. That's just a huge practice. If people did that alone, their lives would probably double in happiness and wealth and everything else. Just that one small thing, eliminating frustration. Where did this gratitude practice develop, and how did you get to this level today?
Man, I'm already getting emotional. My parents came from Samoa, so they came from the islands, and they came to the States to give their children a better life. I was born and raised here, so first generation, and they're growing up in a house with 9 kids. And like 1 bathroom, and both my parents just working hard. So much gratitude for my mom and my dad and the life that they gave us. So, I feel this moral obligation, this duty to be super grateful for what I have, and to go and honor my mom and dad and my grandparents and all those before me who sacrificed so much. Like, it would be foolish. It would be like a disservice and a dishonor to them to not maximize talents and to be grateful. So, life is so short. Why would I ever want to spend any waking moment inside of scarcity or victimhood or ingratitude? I mean, there's just so many benefits and blessings that come. So I would attribute it to my parents and to my wife, who reminds me to be grateful, because I am a guy who wants to achieve, who loves to create. And every once in a while I forget. So this is one of the tools that we teach our people and the people we work with is gift and gratitude. Like, look, stay in a state of gratitude. And it's just something I've lived. So it works. It really does. As you said earlier, if people did this alone, their lives, they'd have more peace and greater drive, more happiness, and they'd produce better when you're in peace and happiness. So
that's incredible. There's so many different things I wanted to talk to you about in this book, but I know that we have the time that we have. But one thing I wanted to hit on right away, I had this was the first note, was do your job. That was a big piece that hit home with me. I'm a big the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller I really enjoyed that book, and that's. I like your approach of how you say it a little bit better. Do your job as opposed to, sticking to your one thing. So what, you said people who do not attain success focus on everything but the necessary required actions. So what does do your job mean to you?
Great question. I want to just give credit to Bill Belichick, right? This is a phrase that they say with the Patriots, like nonstop, do your job. And if you look at, right, they're going to go play The Eagles in the Super Bowl, they are one of the most successful, if not the most successful franchise in the NFL right now with the amount of Super Bowls and trips in the last, just under 20 years. So do your job means, to me, do what you're supposed to do. We all have this path in life that leads us to this desired promised land or this desired paradise, right? This place we want to achieve and create. And to do your job is simple. I teach my boys this every day. I'm like, just do your job. Like, do what you're supposed to do and count on mommy and daddy to do what we're going to do, to put the lights on, put food on the table, put gas in the cars, get the vacations and the clothes. But you do your job. And if a man or a woman will learn to do their job and to do it well, we have a phrase. I have a lot of phrases with my boys, and I'll say, if anything is worth doing, then they will say it's worth doing well. And I'm like, what does that mean? They'll say, it means if you're going to do something, go all out. Take pride in the dishes. Take pride in the counter, in your marriage. Like, what's your job as a man? From my worldview perspective, it's like we go hunt buffalo, right? We bring home the meat, the bacon, the cheddar. Our job is to honor our wife, our children, and do your job is just 3 simple words. You do what you're supposed to do, what you said you would do, what you committed to do. And if you'll do that, like, only good things come about from that, period. And
I think, maybe, I don't know, I feel like I should get it tattooed on my forearm just so I keep it, at the forefront of my mind at all times. Do your job, whatever your job is in that moment. And we do have a lot of roles as parents, as athletes, as entrepreneurs, all these different things that we're trying to juggle. How do you juggle all of that? We talked about at the beginning, you kind of gave a quick introduction to all the things that you're doing. You're doing, I think you said flag football games, and everything in between, run this business, podcasting. How do you manage to bring that do your job mentality, enthusiasm to everything that you're doing?
That's a great question. I'd say one of the things is, one of the principles we teach, principle number 4, is clarity is power. And if you'll get clear about what you truly want, we're all going to die. We're all going to get to this place where we look back and we're like, wow, I lived this life. And you either get there by default or you get there by design, right? Intentional, deliberate design. So I would say, look, go get clear. First of all, like, get clear. What do you want? What do you want it to look like? Once you know what's that picture is, the life, the marriage, the children, the family, the home, the car, the job, the retirement, all that stuff, then I would say, okay, well, what's required to get it? And once you figure out what's required to get it, I go right to, for me, it's priority. If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. Like, that doesn't work. Most people think, well, this is all. No, every time of the day has its specific pecking order. In the morning early from 4:15 to 7 is my time. That's my gym time. That's my study time. That's my supplements going to the body. That's my stress. Like, that is Setema's time. That's where I start winning the day. From 7 to about 8:15, that's my family's time. We got family prayer, family scripture. I make breakfast. We got music jamming on the JBL box. I take my boys to school. That's family time. From about 8:15, by the time I get home from taking my boys to school, till about 9, again, that's more personal prep time. And then from 9 till about 3:30 or 4, that's work. That is where I grind. That is where I do what's required. That is where I'm with my teams. That's got to be so effective and so efficient. And from 4 on, it's back to my family. Right, we got practice and karate, and I'm taking kids to basketball or football, depending on the season. Sitting with them doing homework, playing catch. My son's like, "Hey, can we play catch today?" I'm like, "Right at 4 o'clock." So then from 8 o'clock, I put my boys down about 7:30. Then from 8 o'clock till 10 or whenever I go to sleep, that's me and my wife's time. And then I got to mix in. I'm a church guy. I mix in my community. So every part of the days has got to have a priority. And the time for me to work is not at midnight. Man, that's time to sleep for me. Right? 5 in the morning, that's not time for my boys. That's time for me to go to the gym. But I have times of the day where there's a priority. So I say, go, like, clarity's power. Go get clear about the life you want. Figure out what's required to get it. Get your priorities, right? A high, mid, and low. And stick according to what you're supposed to do, right? Do your job in the time you allotted for. And look, life's amazing. It really can be. And one final thing on this is, I say it, like, it doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of people fail and struggle because they think life has got to be super complex. I'm like, no, the reason it's complex is because you are unwilling to confront what's required, or what's the next required thing, what's the next one thing. When people want to avoid setting a priority, setting a clarity target, they go to complexity. And I'm like, look, I got church, I got physical, I got spiritual, I got relational, I got a wife, I got kids, I got parents. I've got my little teams that I coach. I got my clients, group clients, one-on-one clients, immersion, all these things going on. And it's simple. When it's the time to do this, that's what I do. When it's the time to do this, this is what I do. And I'm just clear that if a person will do that, man, it's amazing and it's very fulfilling. And yeah, I schedule time to meditate, and I was in bed by 8:30 last night. And so, yeah, you can really create a life that's amazing.
And you may have just hit on that in that explanation was, and I'm not looking at the book right now, just from memory. It was something along the lines of if you things you don't admit or either admit or don't or are unaware of are going to crush you, right? And so, what would be? And first, can you talk about that a little bit, and then maybe a process for helping identify the things that are going to crush us?
Yeah, I think it's like I think I said it. And obviously, right, everything that's in my book, it's things I've heard, I've learned, I've kind of put together in my own words that make sense for me. And the things that you're unaware of, or that you don't know, or that you don't see, not only are they going to crush you, they'll kill you, they'll hurt you. And so how do we deal with that? Well, one of the things I'd say is what you're doing. If you're listening to this podcast, you are a person who's seeking to go into the realm of the things that you don't know that you don't know. So you listen to a podcast, you read a book, you read from people who have different beliefs so you can become more aware of what's really going on in the world. We always hear about people being raised in a bubble, like, oh, they're really unaware. And the last thing I want to do is be unaware or ignorant. So I read the books, I listen to the podcast, I'd say stay open. Oftentimes people attack our beliefs, or they'll say something that's true for them and it's not true for us, but we will completely put the wall up because, oh, that doesn't vibe with me. I say just be open to possibilities. Be really open to someone else's truth. And if you'll go seek out mentors and coaches and read books and stay open while you read that versus reading the book and say, oh, this isn't true because it doesn't jive with me. I read books and I'm like, great, this is great. It's not true for me, but I'd like to find out why it's true for them. And if you'll stay open as you study, listen, read, go to things that just are out of your normal comfort zone, what you're going to find is you're going to expand your comfort zone. And one's success zone always equals one's comfort zone. So you want to be more successful, you got to increase the comfort zone. How do you do that? Getting uncomfortable, learning new things, trying new things, listening to new voices, new teachers, and doing things that just challenge the heck out of you.
And that kind of brings me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about today was, because you do it in Man Wealth with your immersion program, and then you also talk about in the book the importance of a coach. And you kind of talk about, I think you said you hired your first coach. I think you said around $500 a month or something like that, which was a lot at the time. Can you talk about that experience and the importance coaches have played in your success?
Absolutely. It was 2003, came out from the NFL and didn't make very much money, didn't know what I was doing. And this guy comes up to me and he obviously sold me and he was like, look, my fee is $500 a month. And I'm like, boy, this is when you're not making any money. That's kind of a lot of money. And I knew I'm like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I want to keep getting the same results. So I had a coach in college. I had coaches in the NFL. Why wouldn't I hire someone to consult and coach me? I hired him, and within, I think it was 2 months, I had made double his fee for 2 years. It was just wild. And I kept paying him, and then I started going to seminars and workshops. And I remember my first real seminar was $500 for one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is so much money. And I can look back over the last 12, 13 years, and my life has been transformed by hiring mentors and coaches. And in the beginning, the coach and the mentor is going to be the book you read, right? They're a mentor. They may be dead, or a podcaster. You are a mentor and a teacher for so many listeners. For me, it's changed my world. I've always will have a coach. I pay good money, top dollar for coaches, because coaches help you see what you can't see. And every coach is different. I've had coaches who were, low ticket, high ticket, women, men, groups, large groups. And I love the conversation of learning. So if there's someone that's listening to this that's like, I want to take my life to another level, and you've been reading the books and you've been listening to the podcasts and you go to the seminars, the next step for you is to find a coach that you resonate, that you jive with, that you're like, wow, this person touches me. And like, I'm a coach. I will tell people, I'm not here to be your friend. You can get that at church. You can get that at the gym. I'm here to push you, to help you see things, to challenge you, to get you to expand your way of thinking, just to see things you can't see. And like my highest endorsement is find a coach. I work with someone that's going to challenge you. And, a great coach, not cheap.
Right.
Like not cheap at all. But the return on the investment as a husband, as a father, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, wow, I could honestly say my investment in coaches is like 10x every time. It's incredible. And that's not just the money. I'm talking as a man, as a human being, as a father, as a husband, as a man of faith, as a man of contribution to my community.
And I think I think what you're saying is the perfect stair-stepping process. You say, grab their books, listen to their podcast, go to a couple events, see what you can do, and then eventually that next level is a coach. But I also think that a belief that holds some people back, it maybe held me back in the day. I've hired coaches since then, off and on, but I never got fully bought into the process because for a long time I thought the coach was supposed to have all the answers, but really they're just there to kind of take your raw materials and turn you into a better person. And once that finally clicked with me, I fully sold on the idea of hiring a coach and that being a big part of my life. Did you ever have anything like that held you back in that realm, or were you just like, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance and we'll see what happens on that first coach?
I was the guy that would hire a coach and then not listen. I'd pay a lot of money. And then I would do, and this is why I smile when people have resistance, because I would pay my coaches and not do what they told me to do. It would take me about 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 2 months before I would get in alignment. And now I just know, like when my coach says something and I resist it, I'm like, I got to go into my thought process and say, okay, what is it that's having me resist this? Because like you're right, like even me, I'm like as a coach, I'm not going to teach you anything. Learning will absolutely take place, but I'm not going to be the answer.
Right.
I will coach you. I will be with you. I will help you. And the thing that you want, and one thing I tell my clients as a coach, I think most coaches would say this, like, we're not saviors. We're not here to save you. I'm not here to drag you by the hand and do this lame hand holding. No, coaching at the highest level is so powerful. It gets people to transform, and then they go and do the work and they dream bigger, think bigger. And I think, just the results of clients are amazing to see. So my plug for coaches and there's a lot of coaches out there. Like, I'm not a coach for everybody. Absolutely not. Some people like, oh man, that guy's crazy. There's like relationship coaches, and there's intimacy coaches, and there's spiritual coaches, and there's marketing coaches, and there's power coaches, and there's speaking coaches, and there's all kinds of coaches. So don't ever, just know that if a coach doesn't jive with you, it doesn't mean they're a bad coach. It just means they're not the coach for you, but they're absolutely the coach for someone else.
And what other ways do you feel, or maybe just you personally, you invest in yourself to get yourself to that next level?
Yeah, so obviously the coach, I am a ruthless student. Like, I am willing to test and try everything. And I'm constantly in association. So it's the same thing I do with my Man Wealth or my Shieldmate clients. It's like, you got to be in the conversation. No transformation will ever take place outside of some conversation that's going on in your mind, conversation that's going on in your heart, conversation between you and one, or you and many, or many and you. And so I love to study. I love to read. I meditate a lot. I pray a lot. I stay open. I journal almost daily. And I'm always setting new outcomes. I'll never get complacent. I like to be uncomfortable. I like to have the press on me. The moment that I'm really comfortable, I know I'm not growing. And, deep in my heart, my desire is to go make a huge difference, right? Lead global movements, impact leaders, and in such a new way that hasn't been done. So I just know that's what I want. And the universe or God's going to deliver to me lots of opportunities to go grow and become. So yeah, to the listener, I would say, look, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a line I get from SEAL Fit, right? Navy SEALs, be comfortable being uncomfortable, and challenge yourself. Like, spend the money on coaches, invest in yourself, in your business, level up, right? Level everything up, meaning like go to the next level. One example is like clothes, right? I'm this Polynesian guy that just loves to just super relaxed, super chill. And one of my coaches about 4 years ago, he was like, Setema, how about you level your clothes up? You look like a former athlete who's like wearing his clothes from college. I literally was wearing like clothes that were like 10 years old. And now it's like every year, 18 months, clothes go out, new clothes come in, right? I want to stay up. I want to stay on top. I want to stay ahead so I can be, who I need to be, which is a leader, an innovator, a coach, a trainer, a mentor. So yeah, every part of life can be leveled up physically, spiritually, relationally, financially.
I think that's really great, and some really good takeaways. I know for myself and everyone out there listening. And I think part of that, going back a page kind of from you talking about that, was the difference between amateurs and professionals. And you have a lot of different like examples here. Amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they can't do it wrong. And a lot of great examples of that. Now, if someone is playing at the amateur level, and you talked about in the book also coaches playing into that, and trying to do the free online trainings and the this and that, and never fully investing in yourself. I think maybe I got lucky in that regard because I had a inadvertent mentor in my life who just business mentor who just beat it into my skull that she was the most successful person I'd ever run into, and she had a coach, and I was like, shouldn't you be coaching people? And she did that as well. But I just want to talk about someone who wants to go from that amateur level, to that next level. Would your recommendation be, what would the starting point be? Not necessarily from like a tactical, hey, go get this book. I'm just talking about from a principle standpoint. If someone feels like they're not getting from the amateur to professional level, what would you say to them?
You got it. Principle number 4 in our language and the principles of power is clarity is power. So first step, get clear. And right, principle number 1 is the truth will set you free. So it always is going to start with, can you be honest about where you are? Can you be brutally honest about what's the current reality of everything in your life? At that point of truth and radical transparency, you can move. So principle number 4 is clarity is power. What do you want? What do you really want? And why does that matter? Most people think really, really small. And, we've got massive vision for our company, for our organization, for our leadership circle. So that's the first thing, is get clear. Is it clear? Do you know what you want? Do you know what it looks like? Do you know what it feels like? Second thing, which goes to principle number 5, commitment alters everything. The only thing that's going to ever come into your life, the only way you level up is once you get clear about what you want and you've defined what's required, you got to commit. And commit means you're going to do whatever is required. You will do what you say you will do. Another analogy we use in our language is commitment means you're willing to move the mountain with a shovel if that's what's necessary and required. And see, most people don't want to do that. They want it to be easy. They want it to be like, all the marketers pitching them online. I'm like, no. If you get a result, it's only because you are committed. And ironically, I would tell them, go look at your life today. That's what you're committed to. And if you want something else, you got to ask the question powerfully. Principle number 6 is ask and receive. It's what kind of commitment would I have to create in order to get that result, which is the level up. And any level up requires real commitment. Commitment, do what's required, do what you said you would do, act decisively in spite of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and moods, all in the book. That's it. Get clear about what you want. Get committed. And if you're committed, you're going to go do what's required. Not your best, not all that you know, not everything that you got. You're going to do whatever is required to get what you desire.
All right. I love that. All right. Now I want to move on to talking about your transition a little bit from NFL to what you're doing today, and just kind of that journey. I know it's had its ups and downs for sure. But I would love to just hear your story and have everyone else hear it as well.
So when I came home, it was like April, May of 2003. I was done. I was down in Florida at a practice, and I was done. Like it was, I couldn't do it. Couldn't stand up, couldn't walk. So I came home and, football's done. I'm like, what do I do with my life now? All I've known is football. That's what my whole, from junior high up was football, school. And now that was done, my buddy had a check. He had made a good sized check. And I was like, dude, what'd you do that last year? He was like, I did this last month. I'm like, and it was like a teacher's salary. I was like, what? And, instantly I was like, look, I had a taste of money in the NFL, so I want to be successful. And I started doing mortgages and real estate. And even though like money was really, really good back then, deep in my heart and soul, I knew that wasn't my path. I just knew it. I'd sit in my office, this beautiful third floor, all windows, huge TV screens as our computer. This was before they were like, that was normal. $200,000 Benz down in the garage, escalated home. And I was like, God, this is great, but my heart is empty. My soul is unfulfilled. And I always had this calling to do which was to speak, to unleash human potential. And I walked away from the mortgage and real estate business. And then, all my money was tied to that. So when that industry imploded, we went down. And I went from mortgages, real estate, internet marketing, network marketing. And I was trying everything I could, and there's no success. And in 2011, after it was about 3.5 years of just like barely scraping, went from 7 figures to like couldn't like pay our bills. I had a buddy of mine who was like, hey, come knock doors. And he was trying to recruit me to go be a door-to-door salesman. And I refused it. I resisted it for 2 summers. I was like, no, dude, I'm like in my mid-30s. I'm a Super Bowl champ. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I would never say that out loud, but that's what I thought. And I finally went and knocked doors in 2011. I talk about this in the book, Winning After the Game, and man, it changed my life. Like it was hard work. You want to talk about a job that's hard. The NFL's hard. Knocking doors, man, that's like, because you only make money when you sell. You're getting rejected. You've got to be efficient and effective. You've got to learn the skill. And for 3 summers, I was a door-to-door salesman, a manager, a leader, a recruiter. I sold. Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, New Mexico, Iowa. I mean, I traveled and we were gone. And I mean, we were living on these tiny apartments and hotels. And 2013, after 3 summers of knocking, which I tell you what, it changed my world. It was so dang hard. 2013, we finished the summer, and there's this thing I can talk about in the book called The Voice. The voice everyone has experienced, your gut, your intuition, the sixth sense, whatever you want to call it. I knew, like, the voice was like, it's time. It is time to go. And I had a lot of money in my bank account. I had my confidence and mojo was back. I had the skill to sell, to recruit. I had just come off of 3 summers of just crushing it. And I walked away. And I started the business I have now. And 4.5 years later, here we are. I made the move to Southern California about 3 years ago. Just dominating, just loving life, impacting men and women and their children and their families, corporations, companies, entrepreneurs. And like I would say to anyone, man, if your heart has this calling, if you have this thing that you just feel like you're called to do, go do it. Go, because that's where I'm at today. I've just listened. I've made leaps of faith. You asked me the question, how does someone level up? Not only is it commitment, but you're going to have to make a leap of faith. Like there's a leap financially, like, how do I do this? I got to pay this coach. I got to go have this payroll. A leap of faith, like mentally, can I do this? And it's going to require faith. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in something greater than yourself. And that brings us to today. I'm husband, father, coach, trainer, author, and I love it. I love my life. I love what we do, and I love helping others to love their life.
And one thing I want to talk about or ask, this may be a harder question to answer. So if you haven't noticed anything, feel free to let me know that too. But someone who coaches, high level, just call them human beings, and interacts with a lot of the people that you do, going back to NFL, sports, and then business today, and everything that you've been a part of. What would you say is a common trait I would say high achievers struggle with that you help them break through with, if there is a common one? I know a lot of it can be individualized.
I'd say one of the biggest things is high achievers. And we'll just talk about like high achievers financially, right? They can lead their companies. They can make money. They have a way of seeing and thinking and believing that allows them to lead others and build an organization. One of the greatest things that I help these men and women with is along the way, two things. Number one, they forget who they are. Like they really forget and they lose themselves in the job, and they start to sacrifice their marriage, their family, the things that matter most. So while revenues are skyrocketing, family matters are dipping, dying, and on flatline. I help these guys to level up as husbands, fathers, or wives and mothers. And what's crazy is they can do that and still maintain growth and revenue. That's one of the biggest things I find is they forget who they are. They start to give up health, family, marriage, and they're unhappy. And, you hear countless stories about people who end up on their deathbed. They got all this money and stuff. And they're like, God, this isn't what I thought. And they all, you always hear, at least I always hear, they're like, man, I wish I spent more time with my kids. Like I missed it. And I don't ever want to be that guy. That's why I coach these people. Like, you don't have to be the person that takes your kid to college, drops them off, and they're crying. Not because they love you, because they're like, I don't even know who you are. Yeah, great. Yeah, you gave me a good laugh, but who are you again? I know you're my dad, but who? And I didn't want that. So I coach these, high achieving human beings to get that power back so that they're no longer lying. They're no longer putting off their family. And then they can be a more gracious, loving leader and a demonstration of what it means to be successful. And, the guys who just want to go make lots of money and they want to cheat on their spouse and like that, unless you want to level things up, I'm not your guy. I coach people who want to have a very holistic, powerful, meaningful, fulfilling life of happiness.
And that's what, I forgot who said it, but it's no level of success can make up for a failure at home.
Yeah, no level can compensate for failure in the home, and I believe that. And
so you've noticed that you said that when people do level up their family relationships, that leveling up is able to be maintained with a higher growth and success in business, or could increase it just due to the level of happiness and contentment that they're feeling.
Without a doubt, without question, like no question about it. The cornerstone of a financial kingdom is always going to be the marriage and family, without a doubt. And, a lot of guys hear that and they're like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like, we're making millions. And I'm like, well, how's your family? Or how's your marriage? Or even another common denominator, I would say this is they put on a good show. Like the facade is beautiful. They know how to show up in public, and deep inside they are rotting away, as Henry David Thoreau says, living in quiet desperation. And this is why when people start to lose money, they'll commit suicide, they'll kill themselves, they'll numb and sedate with alcohol and drugs because the pressure is high. And I show people, like, you don't have to live that way if you don't want to. Now, if you want to, you just keep doing it. It just doesn't work, and it's not sustainable, and leads people most likely down to the docks of despair and discouragement and depression.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the events that you're putting on. I watched some of the videos online before the podcast. They look really cool. All the things that you have guys doing and everything. Could you talk about that? You said it's a 4 or 5 day process. Is it?
Yeah. I'll tell you about it.
You gut somebody. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So look, I know that when a person's going to come to our what we call Man Wealth Immersion, or the ladies that come to Shield Maiden Live, like, you can't just come and get information. You can get information on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the sites. What you're coming to get is someone who is willing to have the courage to give you an experience to help you, like, cut yourself open and look at everything that's really going on. And look, these unworkable behaviors, these lies, man, they are deeply entrenched. They are embedded. They are tattooed. They're like attached to your blood. You don't even know that you're lying. You don't even know that you're pretending because you've been doing it for so long. So, when someone comes to our programs, they got to go on, they go watch our documentary and they've got to apply. And they got to, there's an application, and every question I'm asking all kinds of questions because I want to know who is this person that's going to take one of my prime seats. Like every seat in the room is prime real estate. We keep it between 12 and 20 guys in the room. You can't hide. And they go through, 5 weeks of virtual coaching. So there's a lot of training, a lot of coaching, a lot of what I call indoctrination. Like they start to infuse our language, our principles, stuff that is like so powerful. And it's not like, this warm, fuzzy, feel good, like dude, I will slap dudes all over the place and punch them in the face, figuratively speaking. If I have to, literally, I will. Because most guys need a wake-up call that come to our programs. Then after the 5 weeks of coaching, which is deep dive, it's incredible content, like you can't get it anywhere else, you show up. And it's intense. Like guys are late 1 second, they're doing they're held accountable. It's a high standard. And for 3.5, almost 4 full days, we'll beat them to a pulp physically, spiritually, relationally, financially. We'll challenge them. You get grown men bawling their eyes out, crying, learning things about themselves that they had no idea existed. Women come to our events and they are letting things out a lot of personal things from when they were a child. And by the time someone leaves, they not only have the information, they've experienced transformation, they've experienced this thing that they're like, wow. And we also give them the tools and the systems that we have, a system that we live by, and what we do in Man Wealth. It's a system that people are like, what do you mean by system? Yeah, you do exactly what we tell you to do and even do it like 80 to 90% correct. Your results will be so much more beautiful. You'll collapse time. You'll get more done inside of 12 months than most people do in 5 years. And people will look at us like, what? I'm like, seriously. We have guys that came through in November and we're 2 months in and they're like just blown away. They're like, I can't believe I've got my wife back. I've got my family member back. I'm in great shape. My kids, he's like, people are like, what's going on with you? He's like, dude, I went to this Setema's program. And we're 2 months in, and I tell guys, like, this is a long game. And it's fun. Like, yeah, why do we work out? Because the body is a sacred part of one's journey. Like, you can't go be successful if you can't even walk up a flight of stairs. Your body's also the temple and the vehicle and the vessel. And we get guys connected physically, spiritually, relationally, financially. We give them the tools, the systems, and processes. And I'll tell you what, Jared, it's an incredible process. And then we create bonds for life. Right? Like, once a man comes through, once a woman comes through, like, you're part of us. And you go home, and some people will continue to live this. And those who do, years later, I coached guys 3 years ago, and they're like, to this day, they'll message me and say, man, I love you, brother. I don't know how to ever repay you. And I'm like, just keep living it. Just keep being the demonstration. Like, let's go affect other men and affect other women, because not just for them, but for their children. And one of our missions and what we do is we reach and teach the masses and we impact generations. There are children out there whose parents are very unaware and they didn't sign up for that. So one of my missions is to go liberate these marriages, these men and women, not just for them, but for their children and their children's children.
I think that's incredible. And one thing, I believe it's in your book, the iron sharpens iron, right? And a lot of people love that quote, but they never really fully think about the actual process of iron sharpening iron. It is a dirty, mean process for metal to scrape on metal until one is sharper than the other. It's not this, let's just be buddies and we'll both get better together. It is a grinding process to sharpen iron. I think a lot of people miss that, and I think that's what you're doing, and it sounds like you're doing in these events. It's not like, come on, kumbaya, let's all be friends. You are doing the necessary grind to actually improve human beings. I think that's very important to note. All right, let's ask the book question here. Now, you haven't been prepped for this, so I'm gonna ask you. So, say there's a nationwide curriculum implemented, and the president calls you up and says you're responsible for one chapter of this book rolling out nationwide. So every single child in America has to read your chapter and be tested on and pass before they can graduate high school. What would your chapter be about?
What would my chapter be about that I had to write for every child to read?
Yep.
Yeah, that's easy. it would be to live by the truth. I would teach them about what the truth is, why it's so important, how it liberates you. Because once a human being understands that lying, pretending, faking, pretending to look good, like suppressing, once they get over that, man, our minds will dream. They will think big. We will love more than we will take risks. We will like say, I want to go do that. They will fear would not hold them back. And so, that would be easy. It would be teach them about truth, because the truth truly does set you free. And, where kids are trained, taught, and educated to lie. How do I know this? My 5-year-old and 8-year-old, they're already saying things to not hurt someone's feelings at 5 and 8. Right. I'm like, my 5-year-old, he sees a woman in the store and he's like, dude, she's fat, straight up loud. He was just telling the truth. And everyone got all worked up. I'm like, son, that's true. We'll use the word obese. And I had to have a conversation about appropriateness. But most people, they're going to be trained, taught, and educated to be a liar, to suppress their God-given dreams and desires of power and what they truly want. And that would be my chapter. I'm like, because ultimately I'd say, look, whatever life you want to live, you absolutely can. And what's the truth? You forget who you are, you forget how to dream, and you bury all that greatness. You bury it in the earth. And in reality, you can go do anything you want to do.
I love that answer. Something definitely I will pass on to my children. That's part of the reason I love these conversations so much with people like you, is not just for improving myself, but lessons I can pass on to my kids and help them be better leaders, better men. I do have one girl on the way.
Awesome. I love it. Congrats.
Thanks. All right, man. So I'm going to move to the quick fire questions of the show. Just some fun ones for us to get to know you a little bit more. So what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
Man, Murph is hard. Every time I do Murph, it is hard. That's hard. That's tough every time. Every time.
All right. Yeah, that's a brutal one. I do agree with you there. All right. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
Things that are hard physically, that require you to hit threshold and go, like physical labor, physical exercise, because you want to quit. And this is where your mind has to take over. So any type of hard, ball busting, gut wrenching workouts, it requires you, and long workouts like Murph. That's a tough one. That's mental toughness. Anything that requires the physical body. Because people think, oh, that's not mental. No, it's way more mental, because the body's going to give up and quit. And here's where the mind's got to convince and persuade and influence the body that you can do way more than you think you can.
And I agree with that one wholeheartedly. I think that cuts down to my ultimate beliefs as a human being, that hard physical work will transcend to every other area of your life and help you achieve a lot more.
Yes.
All right. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh boy, I'd take the one of those racks that has a pull up and a bench press and everything.
Yeah.
I'd say oh man, that's a tough one. Just give me some dumbbells. I can do something with dumbbells.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, the question of the show: what is the best advice you have for becoming a better human? And this is 100% open-ended.
In a matter of days, weeks, months, it could be tomorrow, you're going to be in the ground. You're going to be a bag of dust and bones. So my advice, if I had one thing to share, don't hold back. Take the risks. They say the centurions, get interviewed, people in their hundreds, and the biggest regret is never, ever, ever the things that they did. It was always the things they did not take a risk on. And mine is your heart dreams and desires. You may suppress it, you may cover it up, and you may try to shut it down, but the human heart is beautiful. We dream, so it's go take the risks. Don't leave anything in the reserve. Don't leave anything in the tank. Don't wait for someday. Just go do it now. And the more you do it now, the more life opens up, and you really can live whatever kind of life you want to live. I'm a 100% core truth of mine is whatever you have is what you've chosen. And if you don't like it, choose something else.
I think that's some really powerful advice. All right, Setema, it's been great having you on the show. Now, a lot of people I know are going to listen to this. They're going to want to check some stuff out. So where can they get your book and learn more about just you and projects you have going on?
Thank you. Yeah, it's setemagali.com/. So just go to my site, Setema, SETEMAGALI.com. You can get the book on Amazon and, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the social media sites. And I love people. So go to my site, opt in, jump on my email list, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and go get the book, Winning After the Game. I've got another book here, ironically, on my desk. You can see a picture of it, The Mind of a Champion. This one's already out in our small private groups. I got a third book we're working on called The Principles of Power, and we're going to keep cranking. I just have a message that I want to take to the world of power and purpose and possibility. So go to my site, setemagali.com. You can follow me on social media. And Jared, it's been just a blessing to be here with you. It's been an awesome time to sit here with you and talk and share and to listen to you and to just open up my heart. So thank you.
I've had a lot of fun, and for anyone listening, go check out all that stuff. I did, tear through the book, and I think it's really awesome. Like I said, it's hitting me right where I need to be hit right now. Going to take me to the next level. So guys, go check that out. Of course, we'll have links to everything he just mentioned in the show notes. If you want to check out all of that stuff, pretty easy one-stop shop to just check his social media profiles, his book, his site. I really like everything that he has going on. Setema, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show.
What a blessing and an honor. Thank you. Have a great day.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best.